Doggone it!
Welcome to Something Came from Baltimore. I am your host, Tom Gallagher, and today we celebrate the music of one of the gone too soon blues legends, Hound Dog Taylor. It was 50 years ago that Alligator Records was formed. It's the quintessential label that protects and nurtures the legacy of the American-created music genre called the blues. Bruce Idler was a shipping clerk of Lenoir Records, and he begged the label to sign one of the local favorites, Hound Dog Taylor. And Lenoir Records passed, but Bruce was determined to get Hound Dog's music out there, and he received a $2,500 inheritance and decided to form his own label called Alligator and released his first recording from the artist Hound Dog Taylor. In 1971, the album is a classic masterpiece called The Hound Dog Taylor and the House Rockers. The album was a slow-moving hit. And unfortunately, Hound Dog Taylor passed away too soon at 1975 from lung cancer, but we have his body of work, and Alligator is still out there protecting the brand. Today, I am chatting with one-third of the blues trio called GA-4, guitarist Matthew Stubbs. We're talking about the tribute album of Hound Dog Taylor's compositions called GA-20. It's the GA-20 Does Hound Dog Taylor. Try it. You might like it. The album was released August 20, 2021 on the Karma Chief Records. This Boston trio kills this recording. The band is Tim Carman on drums and Pat Faherty on guitar, and my guest also plays guitar with Charles Musselwhite for the last 11 years, Matthew Stubbs. Before we get into the interview, don't forget to subscribe to Something Came from Baltimore, and you flip it to 5 people who love this kind of music, because we want you all to be a part of that Be More music scene. Okay, let's listen to a sample from the album GA-20 Does Hound Dog Taylor. Try it, you might like it. It's a cover of the 1971 recording, It's All Right.
All right, all right, it's all right. Lord, I give you my money, every little gold coin in hand. But you take what little money I give you and give it to some other man. All right, it's all right. Lord, let me tell
Via
you.
Zoom, Matthew Stubbs. Welcome to Something Came from Baltimore.
Hi, good to be here.
Yeah, great. Hey, love this album. It's a hot album. I'm sure you're getting a lot of good buzz on it.
Yeah, it's been well received on the radio, and just a bunch of reviews came in the last couple. I mean, it's been out for 4 weeks now, so all the reviews are starting to come in, and everything seems to be positive.
Yeah, definitely. We're talking about GA-20 Does Hound Dog Taylor. Try it, you might like it. How did you learn about Hound Dog Taylor?
I grew up listening and playing blues. My father's a guitarist, and introduced me to that music when I was just a kid. I can't really remember the first time I heard Hound Dog, but I'm pretty sure it was when I was 15 or 16, just digging through, CDs, not records back then. And I think I came across Give Me Back My Wig. It was like a compilation CD. I can't remember. It was like an Alligator Records compilation or just a Chicago blues. And I remember hearing that. And then through the years, other people have covered that song. That was probably my intro to Hound Dog, as a youngster.
What would you say, as a blues fan, is that style? Because that style is not really like pop radio commercial. It's a lot more dirtier.
I mean, it's Chicago blues. That's exactly what I would call it. I mean, Hound Dog and the House Rockers, they're probably a little bit more raw than a lot of other acts of that time or any time, really. I mean, they're very raw and high energy, band. I mean, I think I forget who the writer was, but he called them like the Ramones of the blues or something. That's what it reminded that.
That's a great analogy. You're also at some milestones. So it's 50 years recording that you're going back to this artist. It's the first artist on Alligator. Hound Dog Taylor album was a must for Alligator, and that's how Alligator was created. How did you make these connections, or were they just by luck?
A year ago, July, Bruce, the owner and founder of Alligator, reached out to us. He had seen us last time we were in Chicago and liked the band. And he reached out a year ago, July, and was interested in us working with Alligator, or him working with us, however you want to look at it. And we were flattered. Obviously, we had, I've known Bruce for years because I played with Charlie Musselwhite, so he's done records on Alligator. So when I go through Chicago, I've always seen Bruce and hung out. He wanted to work with us, but we already had a record contract with Colemine Records out of Loveland, Ohio. Our first record is with them, and we have a few other records ready to go. So it wasn't really a thing. I couldn't just say, yeah, all right, Bruce, let's make a record together. Everything was shut down. We had these other records ready to go, but we wanted to hold off releasing those, the original material. Just we wanted to make sure we were able to tour behind it. So I knew it was the 50th anniversary of Alligator and Hound Dog, and we've been compared a lot to Hound Dog and the House Rockers because instrumentation, we have 2 guitars, drums, and vocals, no bass guitar. We're influenced heavily by Chicago blues of 50s, 60s, and 70s. So very similar to Hound Dog in that regard. So I just kind of came up with the idea. I talked to Colemine, and then I pitched the idea to Bruce. Took a few conversations, but about getting the 2 labels to work together and co-release this as like a, it's tribute, but it's 50th anniversary. It just made a lot of sense. Like we had time. I have built a studio in my house, and it was just something, I feel like he's kind of like, if you're really into blues, you probably know who Hound Dog is, but if you're just, it's not a household name. So I think he kind of should be if you're really into blues. I mean, he was pretty influential in a lot of ways. So just I had a few meetings with the 2 labels and figured out how we would make it work for everybody, everyone involved, so everyone was happy with the health, and we were able to come up with an idea, and then we recorded. That was in July. We started talking, and by November we were in the studio recording it.
So the recording is like a gift. Like I was raised on SST and Slash and some like punk artists. And when I hear this album, it reminds me of that time period, like where you're excited about this album release and the rawness of it. And this album of yours has that feel. And so you recorded this in your own home. There's no overdubbing. It doesn't seem like, it seems kind of raw. What was the idea when you started recording that? What kind of sound were you trying to get?
The goal with this, I mean, I had never, until this moment when Bruce reached out and I had this idea, and no one in the band, including myself, ever, we weren't out to do a tribute record. We write our own music. But when we decided to do it, I produced the record, and my goal was just to kind of capture the spirit of the first 2 Hound Dog records. They're really, if you're not familiar with them, they're very bombastic and raw. And I spoke with Bruce because he produced those in the 70s, early 70s. And I just kind of asked him what the energy was in the room, like outside of the actual playing, and then the playing. And basically he told me it was, they came in and just performed like they were in a nightclub, like what he would see. That's where he fell in love with the band. And they didn't have headphones on, they had a couple monitors to hear the vocals, and they just went in the same gear that they played live with and just cut the songs to a 2-track, not many microphones. So that's what we were going for. We set up in my studio all in one room. So we're not isolating anything. All the songs were cut, 2 or 3 takes. I don't think there was any that were more than 3. It was just me, Pat, the singer, other guitarist, Tim on drums, and then our engineer, Matt Gerard. So it was just the 4 of us in a little room. People have an idea of what blues is, and it's like cut and dry. They think like guitar shredding, and at this point, modern blues kind of more like that. This is just Chicago blues. This is just raw blues, and it has lots of energy, but most blues has, a lot of energy if you start digging and listening to where it came from.
This is something that, if you're a Hound Dog Taylor fan, this is an album you want to listen to. If you're a GA-20, this is an album you want to listen to. If you're a Chicago blues fan, this is something. But if you're also into some really good rock sounds and some garage vibe, this is an album that you want to listen to. It's covering a lot of bases, and it's just pure energy. It's really great. I love the album cover. Was that a conscious decision on using that album cover?
Yeah, well, so that's Hound Dog's hand. He had a 6th finger, so that's kind of there's other photos similar to that are very famous. Alligator owns the rights to that hand, and they had multiple different shots. Ones that a lot that are not released, but yeah, I think it was important. It was I think it was my idea, or I was talking with the owner of Colemine. He did the art design, physically did it. Him and I were working together to come up with the concept. So, do you feel that extra finger helped him in any way? I don't think so. I don't think. I mean, maybe, but when you listen to how he played, it's pretty. doesn't sound like he's doing anything that you would need a sixth finger for.
Yeah,
You know?
it sounds like he tried to cut like one of them off when he was drunk.
I think he did. He had an extra finger on both hands. And I heard a story that he actually did cut the one off.
That can't be a good thing. Yeah, it cannot be a good thing. But in this modern age, I'm sure that would have been like, you know, sawed off very quickly. So in your bio, you guys are talking about, you know, maybe going in a historical route where you're peeling off past artists. I know you're doing original recordings, but now you have this album in the can that's kind of a tribute, and you put your own spin on it, and everyone's in love with it. So do you feel yourself going like, oh, we're going to do Elmore James in the future, or are we going to just keep it open to the future and say maybe we will go back, or maybe we'll do a parallel?
I don't see us doing another tribute record. I mean, blues is kind of, it's a traditional historic music. So there's always, I'm sure we do it in like a live show. There's other artists that we cover, a song or two. But I think this was just a one-time thing for us. It just, everything aligned from being off the road, being the 50th anniversary, Alligator reaching out when they did. So, yeah, I mean, we have other records done. The next record we're releasing, I think, is going to come out in May. That's all original stuff. That was done before this Hound Dog record.
The album we're talking about is Try It. You might like it. It's GA-20. Does Hound Dog Taylor. It was released August 2021. We're going to go through a couple songs from the album, and we just get your take. The songs, or why you like the original, or what kind of spin that you guys did. And I saw that there's some great videos for these songs too, and I think that they're really time fitting. That would be the style of a video from that time period, the early 70s. Your drummer has an awesome sweater on. I love it.
Yeah. He'll appreciate that.
Yeah. First song, And She's Gone, was from the first album of his. There's a video out there, but what's your thoughts on that song, and why'd you pick it as the lead off?
I just think it was a good, it was a good intro. It was the first single that came, that we released. It's a good intro to, if people that don't know Hound Dog.
But I know the reason why. Well, you take all my money and you treat me like a child, like a child. Well, the woman I love, baby, done me here and gone. Well, the woman I love, baby, done me here and gone. Well, if things don't change, I ain't gonna be here long. Be here long. I ain't gonna be here long. I ain't gonna be here long. I ain't gonna be here long. Ain't gonna be here long. Ain't gonna be here long. Oh, she's gone. Oh, she's gone. She's gone. Oh, she's gone. Oh, she's gone, boy. Oh, she's gone. Oh, Lord, I miss you, babe. Oh, she's gone. Hi, baby. My baby's gone. Oh, she's gone.
I mean, that and the following song in the sequence, Let's Get Funky, are probably my two favorite on the record. So,
yep, you're right.
I don't know. It was the leading single, so we made the first one on the record.
That's fine. We're going to play a sample of the original, and we're going to fade right into your version, and then we're going to get back. So, yeah, we're going to get right into the next song, which is Let's Get Funky, which also has a video. This is Beware of the Dog. So this was recorded, and he passed away in 1975. The album came out in 1976. So you picked this one off the third album. But I think all these songs are fantastic. But what's up with Let's Get Funky?
That one to me is the more unusual on the record, where it's not like a shuffle or a slow blues. That one I can see where people are like, oh, it's like punk, or it's a garage rock or whatever, because it really, it's pretty reckless sounding. It's basically just one guitar note for almost the whole thing, and it's not like a singing song, just kind of doing what Hound Dog is, kind of like talking at the audience, and that's what Hound Dog was doing.
Alone. It has an awesome story, isolationist vibe where he's a little frustrated
Sure.
from the song.
I mean, basically all these songs, when we were doing it, most of them were off the first two records. So it was just kind of piecing together. We rehearsed for a couple months, and we would run different Hound Dog songs and just see which ones felt good and had the spirit. And so that's really all 10 of them. That's kind of how we picked. 8 of them are songs that Hound Dog wrote, right? And then, or Brewer Phillips wrote. He might wrote one of those. And then 2 of them were not Hound Dog written, but he would perform them live. And that was another important thing to me when we were recording the music. I wanted it to be, represent what Hound Dog was doing, in a club. And he recorded a lot of those covers. So there's 2 on there that he didn't write.
Lord, ain't it lonesome? Oh, when you're sitting at home alone. Ain't it lonesome? When you're sitting at home alone. The girl you love, she dumped me and now she's gone. I drive her to the corner. She said, Daddy, as far as I gotta go. I drive her to the corner. She said, Daddy, as far as I gotta go. Don't see me about 12. I'll be ready by 4:30.
That's kind of, it was just kind of when we were playing them and rehearsing, finding the ones that had the spirit, or as close as we could get to what those records sounded like.
The next song is what I learned about him first too, is Give Me Back My Wig. And there's multiple recordings out there. It's a jam. It was track number 6. You didn't release it as a single, which is surprising.
I think that's probably one of his more well-known ones. Like I said, that was as far as I can remember, the first one I heard, and a lot of people have done it. What I will say is when we play it live, that one is like one of the probably more, it's a crowd favorite. Every time we play it, there's a lot of energy and people seem to really connect with it, and Pat does a great job on all the slide parts. So.
Now that your head go bald. Give me back my wig, honey, now let your head go bald. Really have no biz, honey, buying you no wig at all. Taking me downtown, it's 8 for 49. When I get down there, I swear, $9.99, you just give me back my wig. Honey, now that your head go bald.
It wasn't, we didn't release it as a single, but it's funny you should say that. We're releasing, we went to, our record label has a studio, and we did a shoot, which the videos are not out yet, but 4 songs live to tape. And we're releasing that just on digital services, a few singles, and then the whole thing, 4 songs. And we're releasing, the first single will be October 15th, and it's a live version of Give Me Back My Wig. So that will be out there as a single shortly.
Good. Yeah, I was like, I would like to, when you go in concert, you're not going to play this album from beginning to end. You're going to, interspersed with your material, right? Or
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It would be nice if you just did one recording, knock that out, say we're going to do it from beginning to end. We're never going to do this again. Like, and then you have that live version of it, and it's already in the can, and you don't have to be bothered anymore, unless you're like Cheap Trick and you guys are together for 50 years and you want to bring that album back out again. Matthew Stubbs, thank you very much for hanging with me today. I am a super fan of this album. I totally recommend pressing on a lot of my buttons, and I really hope people reach out and take a listen to it.
Cool.
GA-20 Does Hound Dog Taylor. Try it. You might like it. So I thank you very much for talking to me today on Something Came from Baltimore.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Matthew Stubbs from the GA-20 for joining me today on Something Came from Baltimore. The album is called GA-20 Does Hound Dog Taylor. Try it. You just might like it. I tried it, and I loved it. We're coming close to the end of the show, but I must remind you again to subscribe, listen, and make comments, share with your friends. It's the podcast called Something Came from Baltimore. We want you all to be a part of that Be More music scene.